Okay, at 6:01 on July 21st, 2026, I will call to order the monthly meeting of the Village Board of Trustees of Sister Bay. Roll call.
Idler here.
Shampoo here,
Baxi here.
Val here.
Housen here, White here.
Kelly here.
Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, second by White. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, approval of meeting minutes from June 16th, 2026. Anybody have any corrections?
Page 2, line 29. Yep. Was it the golf festival? It was the goat festival.
Okay.
That's all I. On page 6, line 13. The color change also applied to the pergola and the roof access structure. It just says clarified rooftop color. But that also applied to the pergola
Yes.
stair access.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
I'll make a motion to approve as amended. Motion by Bell,
Second.
second by Baxi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Comments, correspondence, concerns from the public. So we did have one letter. It came in here and I said, we've got some gentlemen in the audience, so.
All right, everybody, I'm John Lejeski. Most of you know me, and I'm the president of the Sister Bay Historical Society. And in your packet, you should have received the letter from me. And the letter, highlights from the letter is, we're once again coming to you and asking you for your support for a absolutely wonderful project. Most of you, several of you have been to the site to tour the barn most recently, and to the individual, the reaction that most of you have had walking into the barn is, wow. It's a spectacular space, and we're really excited about having it. But of course, we're going to need some help to bring it to completion, and that's where you come in. The barn, of course, is a preservation project, but we really want to turn it into the center for history, education, and community. While it's going to be a tremendous asset to the Historical Society, I think it also will be a wonderful community asset. I think that if you look at it, the potential for a gathering place for the community is really quite remarkable. It has the potential for us to do educational programs, music events. As a matter of fact, we had our very first music event there on the lawn over the weekend. We had a group playing music from the 60s and 70s, and you should have seen our people swaying in their chairs. Somebody said they're walkers too, but not really. Anyhow, it was a great event. We had food and beverages, but the important thing is we got people into the barn to see the potential, and the potential for community use is there. It's actually similar in size to the Crest Center. Those of you, I'm sure you're familiar with the Crest Center. So we have the ability to accommodate 120 people as a sit-down banquet and 175 people in the event space for lectures and educational programs. The village has been a long-term supporter of the Historical Society. We have a 30-year history. You started out with your initial support of the Anderson House. We have 16 buildings on the property that have made the Corner of the Past a really wonderful museum site, and you've been with us all along, and we appreciate that. Again, we're looking for an additional support to help us move this project forward. Your long-term strategic plan that you issued in 2025 basically reiterates your commitment to history and history of the village, and we can certainly partner with you on that. We're about to put together a proposal for your capital improvement plan, and we're going to submit a similar letter to your finance committee for their review, and we'll get that into you by tomorrow. But I think that the issue here is we need to collect a certain amount of money. Our goal is $6 million. And of that 6 million, 1.5 million is intended to be for future endowment. The 4.5 is for construction and the build out of the various aspects of the project. So that's the financial part of it. We're asking the village to help us with an allotment of $750,000. And while we realize that's a substantial amount of money, we're prepared to look at that over a series of 3 to 5 years, so it becomes more palatable. With that, I think that it would be a tremendous advantage to us to partner with you and bring this project to fruition, not only for us, but for the community at large. I think that the benefit that we see as a community asset will only enhance the events that we currently do. You're all familiar with our Christkindl Market, which brings in a tremendous amount of tourism dollars to the village. This particular barn project, I think, will have a similar effect, and it will provide a year-round opportunity for us to gather as a community in a wonderful historic setting. So again, we're here to ask for your help, and any suggestions that you have to help us move this project forward would be appreciated.
Thank you, John. This is not, unfortunately, we don't do a dialogue in this scenario. We're just here to take your input. So that would be an opportunity to have a dialogue here, but I think it's agendaed for next, is that on the agenda for next week's finance committee meeting?
It isn't currently, but we certainly can put it on there.
Okay. If it is, then you could get feedback if it's an agenda item.
Perfect, thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That meeting would be next Monday
At 10, 9, 10,
at 10.
10.
So we're making the submission on tomorrow to be in the packet for that Monday meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else online that would like to speak?
I am not seeing anybody raising their hand online. So,
Okay.
no.
All right, then on to 5A. So 5A, B, C, and D, all come from utilities. Last utilities meeting, there's a just establishing policy, so let's go with 5A.
So 5A is regarding a disconnection policy. Just wanted to make a note for the majority of these policies, really, these are regulated by Wisconsin Administrative Code under the PSC. So really, most of these policies are just adapting to what the code currently says, and we already have to abide by it. We're just putting it into our own policy. So as part of that, it originated from the utility department. It had some input from myself as well as Megan and Kara, and essentially as part of this policy, we're recommending that the village board approve it. So really, when we're talking about the policy itself, it aligns with administrative code, and we're just simply following what the code currently says. So if there's any specific questions regarding the policy or the specific content, I can certainly take questions. Otherwise, we can I would recommend consideration for the resolution.
So if there's questions, let's ask them now, otherwise I think we can move through these pretty.
Yeah,
quickly.
no, I'd like to, I do have two questions,
Okay.
one on page 15. Item 2, policy. Payments on accounts are due 20 calendar days from the date of billing, but the example they give is a 31-day period.
So we discussed this at the utility committee meeting. It essentially is just the day that it's issued because we're quarterly. So it would be, yes, it's not the 20 days. It's meant to be an example, but Kira covered it a little bit.
I have exactly the same questions, exactly the same question, and the bills issue, like, they're not really issued on the 30th, the bills are. The date is done on the 30th, but they're actually sent out on the 10th. So it did make sense, but I have
Okay.
exactly the same question with utilities.
Yeah, so
Alright.
it's because it's quarterly as part of it. And that essentially, yes, it's sent out on the 10th, and it's merely just to be sent out as an example.
And the other one was on the next page, 4B1A. Is residential dealt with different than commercial customers? Because this is like one spot where it specifically just calls out contact with the residential customer instead of with the customer. Utility shall make a reasonable effort to have personal or telephone contact with the residential customer. But everywhere else, it's just kind of talking about customers in general.
Yeah, so the only thing that we're talking about, so when we're talking about it with a DPA, essentially it would just apply for residential customers. That it's required that it has to be provided. Commercial customers aren't required to have a DPA.
But this is talking just about disconnection notices.
So now we're down to,
Megan, are you currently on?
She is.
Yeah, I am. I guess I am not entirely sure why that one does say residential customer. I would have to verify if commercial customers can be shut off as well or not. I am unsure is if there's a difference between residential or commercial.
It says on the page above it for A, past due notices, so there's 4A1. And then 4A2, it says for residential customers unable to pay the outstanding balance, the utility is required to offer a DPA. DPAs may be extended to commercial customers, but the utility is not required to. So then after that, it seems to refer to residential customers. But it seems like it could refer to both, like you might as well make contact with.
But it seems like we're in a
customers.
separate subsection just on the notices, so that's why I was raising the question.
Mhm. I think you should make every effort to reach out to a commercial customer as well. In my opinion, the village is so small, there's not that many.
And that's why, to me, it's just striking residential in that paragraph.
Yeah, I would
I
say,
agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
yeah, I would imagine it might have just been something that's referenced in there, but it probably references all customers, so it would be struck, but I would also say we just want to make sure to refer to what it says in the code as well.
That was the only question I had.
okay. So, let's see, I will. Make a motion that we approve the disconnection policy as amended.
With clarification on 4B1A, and
Yeah,
that leaves it up to Megan to see if codes are.
Okay. I'm good with that. Okay, that's a motion by Bell,
Second.
second by Hagler. All those in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carried. 5B, the leak adjustment policy. Any questions on that? I think we've kind of jumped all the way through there, but I'll just give it.
Page 26, I'm trying to get to it. We duplicate failure to turn off sprinkler line. In 2 different spots in the same section. So at the very first line of the page, the first bullet point is high usage due to failure to turn off sprinklers and hoses. And it's listed, 3 bullet points above that. So we just need to clean up one of those.
Oh, it's a different one.
Oh, I see what you're saying now. Okay.
Just wanted to make a note on this specific one is that it is not technically required as part of the PSC code. This one is specifically not regulated because we're talking about sewer. So sewer for most municipalities is not regulated, so it does not apply to the code. Specifically for this instance, it's responding to multiple historical incidences where, you know, some type of credit was essentially requested as part of it. And it's essentially been, you know, administrative discretion to keep this moving forward. So essentially this policy, you know, clarifies the specific process for doing so. That would, you know, provide it to have more clarity for any residential customers seeking to have that be applied.
Yeah, it seemed to make sense. I was trying to figure out what circumstance it would be like if somebody's house froze up. And the water was running for 2 weeks till they got up here,
Yeah.
but obviously didn't go down the sewer.
I think one thing that what actually brought it to our attention was somebody was unable to get to the house during the snowstorm this year. It took them a long time to get in there. They had a lot of water.
Yeah, that was a thing to kind of.
I mean, Megan, how many times has this happened since you've been here?
I would say in the 5 years I've been here, probably like 5 or 6 people have reached out with occurrences like this that potentially could have been covered. So it does happen. So it would be nice to have this policy on the book so we know how to follow through appropriately. So
Yeah, and there's never been a repeat offender, and I thought, do we need to have a repeat offender policy? And I just said, we're overthinking this. Let's just let it be. This hasn't happened. It's a reasonable policy. We can.
Yeah.
I think that's what staff had recommended, and I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we approve this with the amendment.
Motion by Idler,
Second.
second by Shampo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay. 5C, third payment policy.
So we're back onto the regulated PSC policies here. So this one again, part of the guidelines that are already established. As part of this policy, it's required to provide deferred payment agreements, and essentially we're defining specifically, you know, what it would be for residential customers, and that we're offering it potentially to commercial customers, though it's not required to do so. And then specifically, when we're talking about this policy, we did include the form that would be utilized as part of it as well.
Okay. Any questions on this one? Okay,
Motion to approve.
motion by Adler, second by White. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. 5D, tax certification policy.
All right, so just with the preamble here, same thing as before, administrative code required as part of that code. And if there's any questions on the specific policy here or the intent, this one's a short one.
Questions on this? I think I also asked about how often this happens, and it's pretty rare.
I think it happened once or twice as part of it, but as in the history or Kara's history here.
How far delinquent does someone have to be to get a lien on their property?
It's not, it goes put onto your property tax bill. So it's not exactly a lien, it just goes straight on your bill.
Okay,
But is it the same question? How far do they have to be in arrears?
Right, like, if you're-
So by the next tax payment?
It has to do, I mean, I believe, and Megan,
like for a year,
I think that it depends on what quarter it is too.
yeah. I mean, obviously, it's more than one billing cycle, because you get
Yeah.
that a reminder. So,
Yeah.
right, okay, yeah. I would make a motion to approve the finance certification process policy.
Okay, motion by White,
Second.
second by Allison, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay. Resolution 2026-008 approving the receipt of the 2025 audit. We have a physical copy of the audit with us. This was presented last month.
Light reading.
Yeah. Any discussion on this? Glad this, I asked you this ahead of the meeting, but this is exactly the audit without the watermark from last month, so nothing has changed. I'll make a motion that we accept receipt of the 2025 audit.
I'll second.
Motion by Bell, second by Maxi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, resolution 2026-09, adopting tax increment financing assistance policy. I'd like to thank the finance committee for going through there and doing this. I know this is really important to the village. Appreciate all the time spent on it.
Yeah, I'll just quick scroll down past the audit here.
Page 124.
Yeah, 124, okay, almost there here. All right. So this is the formalized TIF assistance policy that the finance committee has been working on for the majority of 2026 to date. There has been multiple versions of the proposed TIF assistance policy. Initially, this originated within January for the village board meeting, or referred to finance committee. From February up until that last meeting, it was evaluated. You can see there is some summaries what was specifically done at each meeting to get here, and you can see if you took a look at any of the finance packets about how that evolved over that period of time. And that we have the proposed policy here for consideration for the village board. There is a lot of contents in here if you're not specifically involved with the finance committee meeting. So feel free to ask any questions that you may have regarding, specific sections or decisions that were made for any of the sections as well.
Yes.
Can I just make a very quick statement? So the purpose of this really is, in the past, people have come and asked for TIF money because we have 2 TIF districts that we heard about last time. TIF 1, we didn't really give out anybody, we didn't have to develop really well, but we did things in other ways. In TIF 2, we have all this undeveloped land. We've had some requests and don't know how to field them. Like there was no procedure in place. Like, do we accept this? Do we give them money? I don't know. So the point of this is to put a policy in place so we can go down the checklist and say, okay, first of all, does it even meet the criteria of what we're looking for? Which is typically housing and infrastructure is what we're shooting for, more affordable housing infrastructure. If it doesn't even start with that, it's probably an immediate no, and someone can see that right away, and it will waste their time. So the purpose of doing this is to give us a guideline to follow when someone comes in and asks for TIF assistance.
And just to piggyback on that as well, it specifically says as part of the TID number 2 project plan that if TIF incentive was to be given out, that there would need to be a policy that would be developed as part of it as well. So this meets the criteria if the village wanted to consider giving out TIF assistance.
And I do like how, even though we're focusing on the housing aspect, that it policy does include, since we've got mixed use TIFs, that they're still included. It's not totally limiting it.
Right.
Right, they're included. One thing I would encourage on page 127, the first time that an acronym is used, that we actually identify it. And in the purpose section, when you say TIF, you list tax increment financing. Oh, forget it. I found it up there. You did list it up there. I was reading too fast. One other thing that was on page 129. On the financial structures and limits. Something that seemed really important in there was near the end of that first paragraph. But I wondered if using those as bullet points might make it clear, where you list out each request with careful attention to statutory requirements, financial risk, project increment, long-term health of the applicable tax increment district, if those were
I
listed
think
as
that's a good idea. It's easier to read.
bullet points, it would show the importance and the
I mean,
value of
it's a
those.
formatting thing, but I think it's easier to read, especially if those are, how much is down to?
It's not a mountain to die on, but it just, in reading through it,
Careful attention to, well, those are statutory requirements, so yeah, it's important.
Okay.
and forgive me if I didn't pay attention to this, do we have a definition section in here near the end? I don't remember seeing one, but I may not have gone back and looked, but on, page 130. C, under maximum assistance levels. We list a 25% of project total cost, but then a 20% of total development cost.
So just,
Are they being used interchangeably, or are they defined differently?
so there are specifically, so when we're talking about maximum assistance levels, is that it's defining that it can vary specifically, specifically for the developer, and that it would be included as part of the, development agreement, that it would specifically define what it is. So there can be different benchmarks for different projects. And that was something that was previously, I guess, evaluated of whether or not we should change that or not to a specific benchmark. But there was some discrepancy about, there's different types of projects that might benefit more from having various levels, so it was kept in. And then where was the section that you were saying for?
So it's section C, maximum assistance levels.
Yep, so that was,
First paragraph is 25% of the project's total costs. And then farther down, in the last sentence. Additionally, assistance for development projects is capped at 20% of total development cost, not exceeding $1 million.
so that was, it can be rephrased, but it's also the considering other benchmarks portion. So it's adding on to that section as well, but it can be clarified with having an additional apostrophe. Citing that it's for the additional benchmark considerations.
What does that mean?
So essentially that as part of the development agreement, there are different options that could be evaluated for the maximum assistance levels. It's explaining that as a baseline, it would say that 25% of the project costs, and then it would say in evaluating the assistance level, there could be other benchmarks that are included. And it lists, the 2-to-1 ratio, and then it's additionally, the assistance would be capped, for that. So it just could be some clarifying language, identifying that that's another alternative.
I think it's muddying the line.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's why I was asking if there was definitions for development and project. Or if they're being used one as a subset of the other. It's just
Right,
not-
like a project cost. Like a project asking versus the development asking, yeah, I don't even know.
so we,
Do we intend for those to be two different numbers? Let's just start with that question. Is there, and why is that 5% different?
so it caps it specifically at the $1 million, point there at the end. Is that was the intention, is that if we want to use that benchmark, it would be capped at specifically the $1 million. for the project costs. It's just some different alternatives for different language for maximum assistance levels was the intent behind it. When talking about it, I guess what was the other part of
So I mean, like,
the question?
so. Shall not exceed 20%, 25% of project's total cost, then capped at 20% of total development cost. Like, what
What's
are,
the difference?
what's the difference?
Yeah.
And why would,
Yeah, I
what
don't,
is
think-
part of a project total cost that's not part of the total development cost, or?
Vice versa.
yeah. I don't know if we fully defined it, because if, in some cases, when we're talking about it, there's acquisition costs that are associated with it, and then there's development related costs. We didn't necessarily go into too much detail in terms of,
But I thought acquisition costs were excluded.
I was gonna say.
but it was initially, but it might
Yeah,
not have
yeah.
been. This specific portion might not have been edited at the time, when we're defining what it was.
Does it make sense just to put it at a 20 or a 25% cap, not to exceed $1 million?
I think we could take out the last 20% or change it.
Change
We don't even
one
need to say the 20% of the last one if we don't want to.
Right.
To say that. System for development projects is capped at. Or shall not exceed $1
Just
million.
shall not exceed $1 million.
Well, do we want that or a percentage?
I didn't hear you.
You want that or a percentage? I
That's what
think
I-
Well,
the
percent's in the
percentage-
first, 25% in the first line of the paragraph.
And then we delete the 20% and say. in the
No,
above.
take out that whole part about 20%, just cap it at $1 million.
That's what I'm, yeah, that's what I.
But you're saying not cap at $1 million, then we just lose the whole last sentence. But unless we understand why that 20% is adding there, it just makes it confusing. And you guys may have seen the sausage get made, and maybe there's a reason why.
I think we need to pick a cohesive percentage and keep the cap to $1 million.
Yes.
Because if you take either of those out in the last line, you're either could pay an exorbitant amount of money
Right.
or, which I don't would happen anyways, but. Or if you take out the 20%, someone's whole project would be $2 million and you're paying up to 1 million of it. I think you should just put 20% for both,
Okay,
so it's consistent.
I would agree with that.
Because if this group who kind of knows what we're talking about is this confused on one paragraph, everyone else will be too.
Yeah. It is, do we look at other TIF programs to see if what that language look like, to see if they use two different definitions for costs for a project?
I didn't notice it in different ones, but I know that we did break up, there were other percentages throughout the document that were updated, but I didn't.
So I mean, when talking about it, that is pretty typical, except when we're talking about some of the other assistance levels that we would be looking at. So if it's like a pay-as-you-go method, 75% of the net value of the increment, that's a typical maximum assistance level benchmark that is utilized as well. So that we'd be evaluating whatever the total project cost is, whatever the increment that is generated, 75% would go back to the developer. So that's a pretty standard one as well. And then to not necessarily tax too much out of the funds, that's typically, it's not more than $1 million.
So are you saying you're fine with us?
Yeah,
About that 20%?
yeah, as long as it's fine that it's a little bit like it, yeah, as long as 20% is considered acceptable rather than 25.
so 20 in the first sentence, leaving 20 in the last sentence. On item 6C. Is that everybody's understanding? Capturing that? Okay,
And are we clear on that one, Nate?
I think so.
Okay, and in the next section under eligible cost, the second sentence makes no sense. Cost incurred prior to village board approval of assistance and execution of a development agreement unless explicitly authorized by the village board. It doesn't say what's happening to it.
I think it should, after the words village board, it should say will not be covered. Or will not be reimbursed, or something to that effect, good catch.
I was just struggling when I read it. It seemed like a sentence. It didn't tell me anything, so that's why I was bringing it up.
Yeah, TIF eligible expenditures are defined by blah, 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 which the village may further limit on a project by project basis. Costs incurred prior to village board approval of assistance and execution of the development agreement, unless explicitly authorized by the board, will not be reimbursed or refunded. I think that's what it's meant to say.
Should that really be an eligible cost, then it should be an ineligible costs? I mean, aren't we defining an ineligible cost there?
So it's intended to define that essentially that in prior, if a cost is incurred prior to the approval of assistance and the execution of a development agreement, so both of those, that it's been approved, we have a development agreement, that those costs would not be considered eligible unless explicitly authorized by the village board. So it could go back and say that it is an eligible cost if it is expressly authorized by the village board.
So maybe say costs
So
incurred prior
it's-
to.
It should just say comma, may be eligible after a village board. The cost incurred
Maybe
prior to
it's
village
not
board
eligible.
approval of assistance and execution of a development agreement, unless explicitly authorized by the village board, may be eligible. So in other words, if the board approved it prior, then it still could be eligible. Was that the
No, it's-
intent?
No, it's saying costs incurred prior to approval of the development agreement are not eligible expenses, comma, unless explicitly authorized by the village board.
And that's why I say, shouldn't it be down under 8 and
And it is too, it's under. What is it?
Well, but I thought
80.
this was meaning that if the village board approved these costs prior to the development agreement, that they were eligible.
It's under E, why don't you just take it out from eligible for the whole. Would you do that?
Or is this a line that just ended up in the wrong spot because we have something very similar down under F in 8? Cost incurred prior to village board approval of assistance and execution of a development agreement, unless explicitly authorized.
Is the goal here is to say that if the village board wants to explicitly approve a cost that happened before the development agreement, do that. That's what our goal is.
Yeah. But that typically, then have it covered.
Which is why the village board has to approve it beforehand.
Right.
So could we change it to cost explicitly authorized by the village board prior to development agreement? That's clear to me. So.
So how many changes are we making at this point?
So we're just listing the requirements on page 6, we're changing 20, and then right now we're changing the 20%
Some of it's,
under the
one
maximum.
was formatting, one down to a couple of them was language.
So cost incurred and approved by the village board prior to execution of a development agreement are eligible.
Well, we're talking about ineligible costs, so the intent is if the cost was incurred prior to the village board approval of assistance and execution of development agreements, it would not be considered ineligible unless explicitly authorized by the village board. That would be the intent.
So I think it's actually a simpler thing, that is explicitly authorized, that would. I think the unless is what's confusing it. So we're naming it eligible cost incurred by the village board. Approved of existence and execution of a development agreement that is explicitly authorized by the village board.
No,
Okay,
sorry. Okay, I'm gonna read it. Say yes or no. costs incurred prior to village board approval of assistance and execution of a development agreement are not eligible expenses, comma, unless explicitly authorized by the village board.
Okay,
Yes,
Perfect.
yeah,
Is that good? Did we catch that?
and that's up under 7.
It's under 8, isn't it?
Well, it's kind of in both places and it doesn't need to be. That makes it confusing to put eligible costs under ineligible costs when you've already defined it under eligible.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we have you here, Skip, to catch the thing.
For not, those are the only things that I earmarked.
so this policy doesn't, if it checks all these boxes, it's still advisory, we could still say, you know what, we don't like this doesn't work for us.
Totally. It still has to go through the administration's office. It still has to go through the finance committee. It still has to get reviewed by multiple people, and you could still, after all the things, the village board can still say no to any project. Because it gives, the whole thing says you can say no.
Yes.
So the path is to make the amendments, and then what?
And it would be to adopt the policy and
As amended?
as amended, and then based off of that, it would be administratively putting the contents of content of the policy into an application, which would then be available on the village website as well as the policy for any developer.
So no one reads it again, okay. If we have a motion to approve as amended, if that's the way we go.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and just being a resolution, we don't have to go beyond just approval of the board, so. That's a procedural question.
Are you advocating?
I'll make a motion to approve as amended. Okay, motion by Kelly,
Second.
second by White. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, on to well-constructed agenda here, Ben. We're having it as a 5G, the technology. The technology policy.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I didn't realize that till the meeting. I'm like, wow, that was
Think of that,
careful, well done, Ben.
There we go, 5G technology policy.
Mhm.
how clever.
Well, perfect. So this was for what just referred to as the technology and device policy. This was previously discussed at a village board meeting. Essentially, the intent of the policy was to move away from village-owned devices and then to move to a stipend model, which would then incentivize any eligible board and committee members to essentially use their own devices and then utilize the Microsoft 360 village provided platform to conduct village business. So this was sent over to legal counsel, essentially as part of legal counsel's review. The only thing that really they wanted to clarify was the specific statement in section 13, which was that when an official shall remove. So when an official leaves office, the official shall remove all listed non-public. It's recommended that it be confidential documents from personal devices within 7 days of departure. So that was the only clarification that was made from legal counsel review. Otherwise, all of the, I don't believe that it necessarily changes what the intent of the policy was. So it was the only change that was made based off of legal counsel review. And then everything else that was previously discussed for the merits of what we're looking at for pricing and things for the policy, that nothing was changed on that front either.
One question.
Yes.
On 12A, on page 143. The transition and grandfather provision, officials currently using village issued Surface Pros may continue to do so only for the remainder of their current term. When you just say for the remainder of their service to the village. I mean, why, I mean, just use it till it dies. What if somebody, you know, maybe Caprice loves her Surface Pro and she's gonna serve 10 more years.
She does
wants
not
to
love her
use it till it
phone. She
dies.
hates it. So, there's that.
But I mean, is there a reason that you couldn't use it past that, if that's what you like to use?
I mean, I think the intent would be to get everyone to switch over to this model, so the remainder of the current term would incentivize getting everyone switched over. So after the 2-year period, you know, it would be essentially incentivized to switch over to this policy. So term versus, you know, talking about service or tenure, I think could be a very long period. Versus that, not saying that the policy can't be changed, just an explanation of why.
I think that I could see it going one more term, but I think realistically, 2 years and change from now. We probably should. For everybody's sanity, get rid of these things at that point. I mean, they're,
Well, is it to our advantage to everybody to be in the cloud and using Office 365?
so
right?
we are using that anyway.
Right, but is it to our advantage to have everybody using, well, if we're using that, everybody using that now, well, there's everybody.
Everybody is effectively using Office 365. The other thing that I had a realization today as I read this for the umpteenth time. Probably should say the village's official cloud platform, and we'd say currently Office 365, just so we don't get
Because it
into
could
this
change.
resolution.
Yeah,
If
that's.
we change our mind later.
Right, right.
Makes sense.
So if they kept their Surface, they would still get supported technologically, correct?
I think the point is that the one,
Try to
there's,
get away from that.
yeah, there's an expense to maintaining the surface.
Yeah.
But the big expense is we would be looking at replacing all these surfaces.
Yeah.
In short term. I think we've gone under the presumption that we would not be replacing the surfaces. And I don't know that we had much of a conversation about what happens for support, but we eventually. Don't want to incur that support expense.
Oh, I'm not saying replace any of them. If it dies, it dies, so. Then you
Yeah,
have to move over anyways. But I don't know, is there anybody like dying to continue with service? Nope.
just-
I was saying, I didn't know if anybody wanted to continue, like, I'm technology adverse, so once I have something set up, I don't want to change it. But that drives me crazy, so I don't know if anybody was like wanting to just keep using it until it's done.
Considering I only
If
see
nobody
like
cares, I don't
3 of
care.
us in here using the village surfaces.
I'm just using it for.
You're
Zoom,
not,
so I'm not
you're
really-
doing it on
I'm
your
not.
phone.
it died.
I know.
So do we want to amend that? If,
No.
I don't think there's any reason, but if I'd be okay putting another term on there, why? So I think the only amendment I would suggest that I've heard been the approved cloud platform. And that would be the village's official cloud platform, parentheses, currently Microsoft 365. Does that make sense, Ben?
Do we even need to put that in there? Because that just is our current approved platform.
Sure. That's true, because if you put something in there, then you gotta change it to the new one, whatever the new one is, and we're gonna.
Well, no,
do
but
that.
it dates the policy.
Oh,
Just stating the current cloud platform.
The village's official cloud platform.
Yeah.
Or yes. Cloud platform. Okay,
Designated or whatever, yeah.
and associated certain cloud services, yeah. Okay,
so moved,
motion by Housen as amended,
doesn't matter, sorry, yes.
Second,
second by Hagler.
again, I'm voting out my surface.
All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Okay, 6A, ClearGov budgeting software.
So this is something that is coming from a recommendation from the finance team for budget software. So essentially, the village currently uses Excel spreadsheets to work on all of our current budgets. It's multiple different budget spreadsheets that are utilized as part of that process that all need to link together. Really, some of the issues that are with that is that it isn't necessarily meeting current budget practices. There's a high tendency for the macros, if you're familiar with Excel, the macros in the Excel to no longer be useful, that there's different areas that are associated with it. As different people have came into the positions that are associated with the budget, there certainly is there's some risk of having some specific process loss associated with the budget when we utilize Excel spreadsheets. And overall, what the aim is to do is to ultimately standardize the workflow for the budget and create additional transparency. So this started off with the finance committee evaluating some different budgeting software platforms. We evaluated a Cassell platform and then a ClearGov platform as well. Cassell, ultimately, it would be the lower cost solution, but we ended up moving forward with evaluating ClearGov just because it provided multiple different budgeting modules, including operational budgeting, personnel budgeting, capital improvement planning, the digital budget books, and then public-facing transparency tools. Ultimately, we did receive a specific proposal or service agreement from ClearGov for the different services. There was two different options, one that included a little bit lesser services and one that included the full gambit of the modules that are available. So that was included as a recommendation to go with the full module. The setup fees, it would be a little bit over $12,000 with an annual fee of a little bit over $24,000. The proposal included a 40% discount and unlimited users. That's what the fee is, but 40% discount with the inclusion of unlimited users. Like I said, really as part of this, there's a lot of benefits to moving towards a budget module that is online versus utilizing the spreadsheets. And this was evaluated over the course of a few different meetings for this. So it definitely would be a new operational cost that would be associated with this. But it would provide additional transparency, additional ease, and it would simplify a lot of the village's processes for budgeting in the future. And I'm not quite sure if we do have the representative from ClearGov present at this meeting.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay,
Hi.
awesome. If we do want to ask any questions, we do have Kristen available to answer any questions as part of this. Included as part of the packet is the ClearGov proposal, and then also the presentation that was provided to the finance committee as well.
So this is all cloud-based?
Yep, it's all cloud-based.
So when you said there's probably some significant startup cost, is that the initial input of everything the village has to get started?
Yeah, so essentially everything that's included as part of our current budget, we would need to have essentially an onboarding
Populated.
of getting everything populated. But once we get everything populated, we would essentially get the report from Cassell that we could export that information in. So every time that we are putting data from the accounting to the ClearGov, and changing the process, but getting everything set up for all of our codes and the way that we specific
Checking accounts is
Yeah,
how they collapse into each other.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
What happens on the other end, should we decide to change to another method?
Yes, I mean, it's my understanding is that we can export the information, it's not lost.
Well, I'd like to actually hear that from ClearGov, because this is, after going through many different billing system transitions over the years that are very technically tied, the right time to ask that question of, are we locked in, is now on the front end, and what do you do, and when's the last time you had a customer that has left, and how did that process work?
Yeah, so you have access to all of your data in ClearGov at all times. So you can always export all of your financial data from ClearGov into the CSV, XLS, PDF. You always have access to everything if you ever want to leave ClearGov.
Okay.
And just to make a note as well, is that we do have the option that if, it's a 3-year contract just for the benefit of getting the pricing as part of it. But if we're not happy, let's just say after year 1 or year 2, there is provisions as part of the contract for ending it for a specific year as well. So if we're not happy, we can always end it as well.
And I just wanna make sure, that's something that, like, if Vlad wants to dump it to CSV one day, that's something he can do on his end.
Yep.
Is this new program gonna save Vlad time and ultimately perhaps save the village money down the road?
So. How I
Question
had,
for Vlad.
I guess I was going to pivot that towards Vlad, but also ask on top of that. If this was in place when you walked in, how would your experience been different in the last 2 years?
So it's a tourist area. The best way to explain what happened. Chef quit and took the recipe book. So this is going to be digital recipe book in processes and everything in place. So for example, something happens to me, to Ben. All of these processes will stay with the village of Sister Bay. So yes, if everything goes according to the plan, it will speed up the process. It will create like times whatever 10 transparency. It will provide understanding how things flow through the village. So back in the days, they were pointing fingers like this happened without this happened without that. The transparency piece should cover the budgeting process. Everyone's going to be involved. Not going to be 1 or 2 people working on the budget on the side and then just bringing. So everyone's going to be part of it. So it's going to be a huge collective process, but simplified. Hopefully down to the earth. So it's just a matter of simple communication. And I truly hope it's going to work the way they promise it's going to. So it will save time, it will save energy and frustration. So,
But probably not, do you think that'll happen in the first year, or is it really gonna pay off in subsequent years?
I think it's gonna happen in a year 2 or 3. I mean, first year, we still, I mean, yeah, we all know how it works. Somebody promised something, by the time you put in everything into works, you still have to validate and double check to make sure that everything works as they promised. So what that means, there are gonna be a couple processes running at the same time. So even though we're gonna try to concentrate on ClearGov, still gonna run spreadsheets on the side quietly to make sure everything's matching. Year 2, probably if everything matched up in the year 1, there will be no spreadsheets, no extra side work. So that's where you will see time savings, cost savings. I will do absolute best not to work overtime, even running all of that. First of all, I do not want to work overtime. Stand it on.
The one thing that's even from a personnel perspective, because the budgeting is, there's just a lot of details and it's not tricky, but there's, when you load everything, so you've got benefits, you've got, it's and you have a spreadsheet that's just loaded with formulas. You better hope they're right.
And it's not,
And then you link a spreadsheet and then the link's broken. And then, if they're really cumbersome, it's really, really hard so we outsource that. And that's not the only reason, because we also know that we aren't HR, we're not experts, but on other things. But the other piece of it too is, as we transition and, Vlad gets to retire when he's 90, just kidding. The 22-year-old that comes in won't have to go, how did he do this spreadsheet? Like, how is this linked? What's this? And he looks at a formula and he's like, oh my God. Because for 15 years, the spreadsheets were built over 15 years by Tasha. It was her program. Period. And I'm not saying anything wrong with it. But then Vlad comes in and Tasha's gone. Even if she was there, it's, everybody thinks differently. It's like taking over somebody's computer and you're trying to find a file. So that's why this is, for me anyway, it really made a lot of sense.
has ClearGov seen our data? I mean, are they aware of how we've got the data stored?
Yes and no. Before Christine came on board, I was talking with Brian and I pointed out to him like how actually our processes works. They do have like standard operation procedures, which is like mentioned with 80% of most of the municipalities and villages. But the way we work, I guess the way we calculate in our mill rate is a little bit different. And, you know, even Ryan, treasurer, the county treasurer, is like, what are you doing? Going backwards? So anyway, we're gonna have to adapt, and they will have to work with us to make sure the end result is what we need.
Yeah, and each, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so each ClearGov account is customized to the village's chart of accounts and to the village's data. So and that's true for every ClearGov account. So when we start the onboarding process, we will set up the account to specifically to how your data is and how your accounts and account number and account structure is what it is right now.
The other thing that I like about it too, and I'm not sure, I mean, you know, I understand that maybe this is wishful thinking, it's certainly not the first year, whatever, is the ability to do projections. The ability to, if we have to course correct and recalculate, you know, it's not nearly as difficult, or if we aren't recalculating, but just want to see what it looks like. What if, you know, well, especially if we're doing long-term planning. So that's a nice, sounds like it would be a good tool. Am I wrong?
Nope.
Please say no. Yeah, okay.
So Ben, how do you envision the different departments working with this? I want to be careful how I say it, but I envision different levels of comfort with technology.
Right, so I mean, in terms of the budget, so everyone takes a look at their spreadsheet for what they're looking at for their funds, right? So they're looking at it, it's sent out manually. We ask for them to edit it, put annotations on, do all that. As part of the system, there's different user levels that's associated with it. So like Vlad and I, we have, you know, the
Administrative level.
right, as part of that. There's department head level where essentially it's sent out to them specifically for their section, and it's requested for them to provide, you know, what they'd be looking at as part of that process for ending their budget. What's sent over to them is then sent back prior to, you know, adding into the budget. It would need to be reviewed and approved for the items that are there. So I don't see it as too much different than what we're talking about in terms of just the manual process of emailing it over and communicating that over to those folks. And yes, it is going to require a little bit of training, but it also is something of where if they review the spreadsheet as part of an email, it shouldn't be too much different than saying you need to log on to this and look at this spreadsheet on this online platform versus.
So basically you and Vlad kind of have ownership.
Correct, because that it's sent out, it's also something where it's like finance committee members, whether it's a reviewer, you know, providing comments, doing things like that. There's different levels that are associated with it, and we have limited users, and it's sent out and it can be, you know, reviewed, and then it requires those authorization levels for incorporating. So there's, you know, it essentially is all in one place, and it works out for that authentication. So we have a budget that has those different levels of feedback from different reviewer levels.
We did ask, I think, I asked what the elements of success of a successful transition were, because I'm sure, you know, as with anything they've had, you know, and we actually reached out to, to other municipalities that had transitioned from Cassell to this, you know, and some of the feed, for the most part, it was good. Some people struggled. So I asked, what are the elements to have a really successful? So did you want to maybe just answer that question again? So we're prepared, because you're right, there's, you know, different levels of understanding from a technology standpoint. So Kristen, did you want to just briefly?
Sure,
let us
sure.
know what your vision-
So I think there's so two parts of this is from a department head standpoint. So we will not only help configure the department head view, but also we will train the department head. So one of the best practices is, before you want department heads to start submitting their requests, we will set up one, maybe two calls, 30-minute calls where we will train the department heads, for you. That way, if there's a new department head, if there's new people who are going to be submitting requests, they can, be taught by someone from ClearGov actually in their account, so they can see exactly what it looks like. So that's kind of in terms of the department heads. In terms of transitioning, I would say the biggest, giving yourself enough time to get through implementation, and leaving a little extra time in case something comes up with all the other stuff you have to do, and so that you don't have to put it off. I think that's probably the biggest way to ensure success. So just making sure you give yourself enough time to get through onboarding, do the training, which is why I often suggest at least being 3 months out from when you want to start collecting requests, and maybe if you can, like an extra month or two. So that's one piece. Otherwise, just having a dedicated person who kind of knows ClearGov and is kind of the main user is the other kind of the other piece. But otherwise, as long as you have, and if that person is typically on the finance team. So as long as there's someone on the finance team who knows the chart of accounts, who can be available during those first 3 months during the setup process to validate data, then I think you should be very successful.
Thank you.
Yeah, we chose a January 1st start date, so it would give us those few months at the beginning of the year that tend to be slightly slower than the rest of the year, and it should give everybody a chance to get trained in, see what it looks like, and then when it comes time to actually submit things to Brad for budget season, maybe they get a brief review from the ClearGov team before they do this thing. So hopefully, I think when we asked around who struggled, it tended to be larger municipalities didn't like it as much, and my guess is because there were more people set in certain ways.
Yeah.
And didn't want to do new things. I think we're still pretty small and lean, so I don't know. I was under the impression that it wouldn't be quite as much of a struggle.
Plus, the larger the team, sometimes a lot of players, and you're right, a lot of them really entrenched in, this is how we did it, this is. It comes to
Always worked when it's what.
Yeah.
Right.
So I hear the benefits, I understand those. Is this an appropriate level of investment for our village? That's
One of the
that's
other benefits I thought, and I don't think I've heard it mentioned, and we talked about that, make it easier for the public to
Visibility to the public.
transparency to the public, which I know we've talked about in several other meetings here and there.
You're right.
But so that's another benefit.
sitting in the seat, I have to ask that question, and when I looked at the automatic 5% a year escalating cost, that seems significant, because that pretty well exceeds about anything else that goes up, aside from oil.
Well, I think something that this doesn't disqualify them, but I think something that we need to acknowledge that this is owned by a private equity firm. These folks are out there to make money, and they've got this market, and they're worth about $9 billion, which means they're well capitalized, so they should still be relevant. But this is what happens. They continually want to make more money, and I don't think that we're gonna find a philanthropic organization that's gonna offer the service.
Yeah, most people, even if they're not, they're all, if they're there to make money, so,
Well, yeah, they are. I mean, it can be a little bit more acute when you're dealing with private equity.
Yeah, but to answer your question, I think that you can balance it against time saved, which is, not just flags, right? And also, also efficiency in terms of really, I'm sorry, gathering information in an efficient way to make really good decisions about about future budgeting and about future plans. Because we still have a lot of that to do. You
Once we
know,
learn to trust it,
I
and
understand.
that'll take a little while.
I understand that, but with our, well, let's then said another way, with our current budgeting process, that would be difficult. It would be difficult. You know, honestly, sometimes you should go and look at the spreadsheets.
It is,
It's unbelievable.
I've built my own very complicated spreadsheets and this thing was astonishing to me that
Well,
it's
it was
still,
built over 15 years, like a house with a bad addition.
it's a house of cards.
I'm serious. Well, what?
Cards
this?
are
No, wait, I
spreadsheets.
want this.
And
Okay, this. No, wait, I don't want that.
Yeah, we did bring that up. We did initially think that it was quite expensive and just, I mean, in compared to some of the other, you know, we had one other quote from Casell. And that was kind of in the realm of what we were looking to do, but they didn't offer half of the things that this service offered. It was not, I mean, after Brad took a look at it, it was hand over hand. This was the one that was gonna work best for him, but I agree with what you're saying. It did seem high. If the cost is based off of our budgeted revenues or not revenues, what was it? It's a percentage of our
Budget.
overall budget, yeah, because that way they know how much they're dealing with and how many numbers they're gonna get in. You know, so a larger municipality that's using it, their cost is higher. They're also gonna have more users and things, but I agree with you, I thought it was high. But we didn't have another one that was lower, that was appropriate and covered all the things we wanted.
They did try to work with us a little bit in moving dates around too, to fit within our budget constraints and whatnot, so.
Yeah.
Right.
And if after 3 years AI can do all of this for us, no offense, Kristen, we'll talk you down a little bit.
Hey.
Assuming AI is doing some of this already through them, I think.
Right now.
And for ClearGov is leveraging
I'm gonna
AI.
get an email pretty soon going, this is what you.
So are we using Casell at all after that, if we go to this, or do we still use?
It's just gonna be like an extension
Okay,
to Casell, using Casell data. Casell is gonna be our main ERP system. And I guess. So technically, all of the data from general ledger, from chart of accounts can be uploaded into ClearGov. And that's what you're gonna be working with, and then it's just gonna go back. From the budget standpoint, transparency piece gonna keep uploading as transactions keep occurring throughout the time.
so how much are we working on? Are we counting on the Casell integration to stay function? I mean,
So,
Casell's got a competing product.
yeah.
Could they
I-
decide that we're gonna run off that API?
I brought this up with our account manager, his name is Zach. I'm like, listen, you guys need to step up. Because first of all, we want you guys to compete because the price is gonna be the result. And they working on it. They have things in works right now. They planning I guess the bottom line, they will have something like that soon. That's why I brought up to Christine. Like, listen, once they're going to develop that thing, like when the phone came up, like whatever, $1 million, for example, 3 years down the road, $100. So same thing probably applies toward programming. It's expensive now. Once AI is gonna take over completely, it's gonna be cheap. So let's just sit down and negotiate. Not necessarily like quitting on each other, divorcing. Let's still be friends. Let's just
But have,
figure out the
Well,
right.
I mean, don't forget that the company that she works for is well aware of what AI can do for them. Do you know what I mean? And maybe that helps them help us. I don't know.
so I guess, do you have any concerns at ClearGov? Like what I mean, like, how are you tying this into Casell? Is there a manual export you're doing, or is this tied through an API, or?
Manual import export.
Yeah, so there's a manual export from Casell into ClearGov, and then we also already have a Casell export in ClearGov that will get the information back into Casell. So yeah,
Do you have any concern that Casell does something to muck up that process at some point? I mean, if they got a competing product, it's always something that could happen.
it could happen. I don't have a concern. Most of our clients in this state are Cassell. So I don't have so we've never had any issues getting information to and from Cassell. I don't, so I don't have any concerns about data getting to and from Cassell. In terms of like, so the whole reason we exist is because accounting systems, honestly, and if possible, everyone would use their accounting system. Like that's no one wants to use more different systems for finance stuff. So the whole reason we exist is because accounting systems just are made for accounting and not for forecasting and budgeting. But if and that has been the case since ClearGov started in 2015. But if that all of a sudden changes, then I'm sure we'll evolve. But that's also why we give, we have lots of kind of outs in the contract. So if for whatever reason you're unhappy, we're not going to hold your data or make you stay in something that you're not happy with.
I'm happy with that answer. That makes sense to me. So,
I move to approve the ClearGov service agreement with the January 1, 2027. Sorry, there we go. Start date as recommended by the finance.
okay, motion by Howson,
Second.
second by White. All those in favor?
Bridget.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 6B, sludge storage tank aeration system replacement.
All right, Megan, do you mind covering just a little bit of background about how we got here?
Yeah, for sure. So this spring, we did notice some damage to the coarse bubble aeration system that's in the sludge tank. We were hindered by the ice shelf that was in there with getting eyes on the damage to try to get a quotation for it. But we finally got to that point now. We did receive a quotation back from August and Winter. The other contractor who originally installed it, they are including in the quote to take care of all the disposal of the existing equipment that needs to be removed, and then also the install of the replaced equipment as well. This is an unbudgeted expense, but we do have the wastewater treatment plant replacement fund to cover expenses like this. This is something that we need to get moving on because we're going into winter, and this sludge tank is our bigger tank. We have obviously our sludge in our spare one right now, but it does fill up quicker, and we got to be able to hold our sludge for the winter. So hoping to get this approved to get moving on the ordering and install on this one.
How old was this existing sludge aeration system?
It was originally installed in 2004.
Is that when the tank was built?
Yes, I believe so.
And what is the general useful life of a sludge tank?
I believe most of this equipment is typically like 20, 30 years.
Most engineers would probably say about 20 years.
20.
But is this like the first part of a chain reaction of things we'll have to replace, or is this the more significant?
No, I believe this was a unusual circumstance. So in the winter, we had some substantial cold weather, and it allowed for a large ice shelf to accumulate on top of the aerators because they're suspended above the tank. And then a lot of strong winds, and then we were hauling some of the sludge. So I believe if we brought the tank level down a little too low, since we were in a tight position last winter with Sturgeon Bay not accepting the sludge, so we did have to haul a little bit to Green Bay. So something happened with either the pressure in the tank because the ice was on the top, or either that ice shelf dropped a little bit and nicked the center of those pipes. Based off the damage, it does look like substantial pressure was in there. So I would assume it was just built up pressure because the aeration couldn't force its way through that ice shelf. But this hasn't happened before, and honestly, hopefully it won't happen again if we don't have to continue hauling in the winter, and if we don't have as substantial cold.
Megan, what's in I think you said it was the emergency fund. I'm sorry, I don't remember if that's not the name of it, but what's the total fund? Where are we with that now? Because this is 113.
Balance.
Yeah, what's the
Uh,
balance?
I don't know the entire balance of the replacement fund off to the top of my head.
All right,
Was it in the millions?
Yeah, it depends. We do have few wastewater replacement funds.
okay, I want a general idea, that's all. So it looks like it's maybe 12% of one of them.
So-
If it's $1 million.
One of the questions I asked at utilities was, if we spend this money, is this going to directly lead to a change in rates? And no, it's not, because it's already been baked into the rates. But this was, while not expected this year, it was expected.
And then just to make a note on, I guess, the one bidder situation as well, is that Megan did reach out to some other bidders, potentially that would be involved, and they did not provide anything. And also it's beneficial for having this specific contractor because they were involved within the original install as well. And the work is very specific to the specific plant that they're working on. It's specialized and customized, so it actually is beneficial for them working on it.
Okay.
I'm sure, sorry, I'm sure Megan that you're all over this, but I think it's worth discussing with them if you haven't already about. I don't think our winters are gonna get less cold snaps in the future, and if we have to haul sludge again this winter, because we don't have that sludge machine, I mean, that's not coming for a couple of years, I would think. Just making sure that this is obviously prevented in the future. I know it wasn't a you thing at all, but just maybe they have recommendations.
Yeah, so we now that we were able to move the sludge over to the other tank, we have a good idea of where the aerators are sitting elevation wise in that tank. So we kind of created a like no-go zone in that tank based because we have ladders in there as well. So we can judge based off the ladder rungs, the height of the sludge in there. So we've kind of determined like a no-go zone. We can't drop it anywhere lower than this, otherwise we might run into an issue kind of thing.
Okay, thank you. And you're pretty confident, what is it, looks like 16 weeks, maybe something like that, get that accomplished in time for winter?
I'm hoping that we can get the equipment ordered a little bit faster than the 8 to 10 weeks. But if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. So
I would make a motion to approve the sludge storage tank aeration system replacement.
Second that.
Motion by White, second by Kellen, all those in favor?
Right,
Opposed? Motion carries. Hydroport, non-residential renewable program agreement.
All right, so this is a proposed service agreement with Hydro Corp for commercial cross-connection inspections for the village's sister bay, specifically for the utilities. We have been in a contract with them before for these services. For many years, it's been the existing service agreement that we've had with them, the existing format. This year specifically, they've changed their term language associated with this. So we sent this out to legal review for Randy, and he responded and essentially provided additional guidance regarding the liability limitations, as well as potentially adding an indemnification clause. And that essentially he recommended that we include the following language for the agreement, which states that any liability or obligation of the village's sister bay identified in this agreement are limited by statutory liability limits and exemption provided by law. The village's sister bay is not agreeing to a waiver or reduction of any Wisconsin municipal liability limits or exemptions. So we sent that over to them. Again, this is something that we've had in the past. We're looking to continue with them for the services that they provide. And everything that's included as part of the financial information was included as part of the terms of the agreement. And yeah, so essentially we just wanted to make sure we were good for the language that was proposed this time around. We have the recommendation to include that language, with the approval that will be provided by the village board.
so I know there's benefits to small towns. Is it standard practice in Wisconsin for the municipality to do all the backflow inspections?
You have to be certified to do commercial cross connection inspections because there's a lot more devices that are on some of the apparatuses that we don't see routinely when we do the residential ones. So the certification for cross connection inspection is like a week-long course, and it is a couple of $1,000. So, and I believe there's also potentially a an experience portion to it as well. So it's just never really been pursued to get certified for the cross connection inspections for the commercial side.
I wasn't advocating that we have somebody in the village become certified. I was just asking if it's standard practice in Wisconsin. Because my experience prior was that municipality required a certificate on all backflow devices, but it was up to the owner to get that inspected and provided.
Oh, backflow preventers are inspected outside, and I just get the reports for those. These are for the actual cross connection inspections for like any air gaps on water softeners that are in businesses, backflow devices that are in like cappuccino machines. Not the big backflow preventers. Those are state certified through, usually Eagle Mechanical sends me those reports for those.
Okay, so those are still good on site. Okay.
Okay,
Any other questions? Otherwise, the recommendation would be for the approval of the agreement and incorporating legal counsel's recommendation for contract language.
So moved.
Second.
motion by Kelvin, second by Hyla, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay. 6D, utilities 2016 Chevy Silverado surplus property.
So I can start off just a little bit with this, and then Megan, I can turn it over to you for the reason for it. But essentially, the village has a specific surplus policy that would be for any of the village at personal property, assets, or equipment. That would be over $1,000 essentially as part of it. It's required that it follows a specific process, which Megan followed to identify it as surplus prior to selling. So the other departments didn't have the opportunity to essentially claim whether or not they would want it as part of this. No one has identified it to date. And then essentially, you know, it would be recommended from the village utilities committee to essentially move forward with the sale of the 2016 Chevrolet Silverado. And then if you want to talk a little bit about the vehicle, Megan, and just your intentions with it.
Yeah, the vehicle is in good condition. There is a little bit of exterior damage on one of the door jambs, which we would put pictures close up in any surplus auction photo or anything. But it is in good condition. It's going with the ladder rack. And the bench seat will be back in the vehicle as well. That was removed and a shelf was constructed in it to store our tools and stuff. But we will put the seat back in it. I believe we should get at least $10,000 for it on surplus site. I guess that's just my estimate. Otherwise, if you guys have a different idea of what we should ask for it, because we can put like a minimum sale price on this if we go through the surplus auction site, which has historically been what we've done in the past. So just any direction on where to post it or how to do that.
So yes, essentially as part of this, you know, it's a required process based on the previous resolution to go through the specific process. If there is any surplus, that's why we're here tonight asking for approval for the surplus and for selling it, follow the specific process. That's what's estimated for the fee that would be recouped as part of it. And essentially, you know, just moving forward with the village board approval, it would be recommended that, you know, we keep things moving in terms of the direction from the sewer and water utility committee for, just managing what that sale will look like if there is any issues. But just generally, as long as everyone is okay with listing it as the surplus and selling that vehicle.
Is this being replaced with something else, or has it been, or?
It will be used to offset the cost of a new truck. Yep.
So we're getting a new truck next year and we're gonna get rid of this one this year?
We had a new truck budgeted for this year with the service body and the crane on it. So we'll sell this truck and then we're also selling the old service truck. When there was the director of public works with us, we had a truck purchased for him as well. So the utilities actually has a spare truck right now, so this is the spare truck that we're looking to finally sell.
Okay. This isn't exactly under this item, but I just want to bring it up. Probably is more of a referral at the end of the meeting. I think when we're looking at vehicles that we're using in the village, we really need to look at electric vehicles because they could save us a lot of money and certain, a lot of applications, not everyone. But it's getting to the point where they are able to do a lot more right now. And when you're not dealing with range anxiety, that can save us a tremendous amount of money in operations.
Can we do a cost analysis on that?
I think that we should make sure that we refer that to the CIP when we start looking at.
Okay. Because yes, there's always conversations about does it really, anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'll make a motion that we accept the sale of the 2016 Chevy Silverado through surplus.
Okay, is that movement? Okay. Motion by Kelly, second by White. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay. On to the monthly financial report and appropriations.
Glad I knew I had one I forgot to ask you about.
I'm gonna start to make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $422,871.32. Motion by Bell. Second by Housen. Okay, further discussion now.
Okay. On page 190. Vendor 10085.
What thing?
Sewer rate complaint.
Oh, that was mine too. I didn't know if that's why these ordinances came to be because of that.
But actually it was paid to the public service. I'm sure that has to do with our friends in Liberty Grove seeking. Yeah, see, but.
Okay, sorry.
That was probably shortly after, when was this? Well, it was in July, the hearing was in.
Well, we paid it to them.
Or something.
Yeah,
There was a hearing.
190 are backed.
We paid for a hearing?
No, there was a hearing and when was it?
well, yeah, but I mean, like, why is the Public Service Commission the payee on there? Would be.
44, 34.
We may not get a full explanation on that today.
Okay.
Well, was this discussed at utilities or anything?
No, it wasn't. That was
No.
utilities.
Pardon me?
That would be utility, Public Service Commission.
Right,
Is Megan still on?
Yeah, but I never saw that invoice.
It's $4,434.37.
dated 6/24.
Yeah.
I'm pulling out the ones. Complaint of town of Liberty Grove and town.
Yeah.
Liberty Grove Sanitary District against villages. Concerning sewer rates.
What, am I losing my pay people for some of these words?
You don't have an answer yet.
Aesthetic.
They, pretty much recuperating expenses, public service commission from, 5/01/26 to 5/31/26. The amount indicated was being attributed to.
And their expenses.
So yeah, that's in regards of the Liberty Golf fees.
But we paid them for their expenses, for the public service commission's expenses?
Whenever they. And you might have to bring this in front of, Randy.
We should, Ramsey would know,
Okay.
because I mean, Ramsey's our, is he, oh, it's somebody else for this, isn't it?
I know it's still running too.
Oh, it is, yeah,
Well, what came out of the hearing?
nothing yet.
Well, there, yeah.
I thought it was a result of the hearing, because this is right after the hearing.
No, there's no result from the hearing.
Okay, I
We
just,
still have
the
to-
timing was coincidental.
Well, we have,
There is, the final decision has not been made yet.
did they release the decision rubric? Is that what just? So they've just released the decision rubric on how they're gonna make the decision, so that's what we've seen.
Yeah, it's like a decision matrix of
Yeah.
different alternatives.
Well, clearly we paid someone to do some sort of research of some kind. I mean, for sure, we should figure out what this bill
Well,
is.
the
Yeah.
parent went to the Public Service Commission.
So I just pulled the invoice up. It looks like it is for the hours that the PSC attorneys have spent on reviewing the case.
The hearing.
So did we,
So who hired them to review the case?
Well, they're required to review the case when a complaint is brought.
Complaint was brought.
The complaint was brought to the Public Service Commission, so they're required to review it.
And then I guess,
Sounds like
we can
this is
talk
the
with
most,
Brent.
yeah, I'd say, this is such a long ongoing case that I feel like none of us are in the loop on it, so as long as someone is in the loop.
Just so somebody's watching,
Yeah, let's-
because
make sure that there shouldn't have been a split cost or something?
Yeah.
It was.
Right,
that's,
yeah.
so if that was a split cost, then they would have, Liberty Grove would have gotten the same.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, so that'll get looked into.
That was the only one I had.
Ben, are you
What's the, one quite, on July 1st, the engineering for the new building?
on page?
I'm sorry, I am on page 194. And I am in account number 10013, architectural consulting engineer, engineering for the new building. Is that the Parks building?
Probably the Marina building, but it should
Oh, it's
probably
Marina.
specify.
Okay.
Just
That should be the only project that we're actively.
I just didn't know if this was like a really late, okay. And construction documents, is that,
That's Marina.
that's the firm, okay.
Ben, are you authorized on the Solcom account now?
yeah, that's for Sister Red Marina.
Yes, I do.
Thank
have
you.
that, yes.
Okay, Solcom went up again. I'll send you a script on what you should say to Solcom to try and do something about that, because they.
A real one up?
Mhm.
Marston at home. Why did the village of Marston?
Cause I figured nobody would notice it.
Because it's, because it's commercial or whatever, right?
Telephone companies and internet companies will constantly raise your bill until you complain.
That's why you call them every 6 months and say, my neighbor only pays.
Or you try to cancel and then the rate automatically drops
Wait a
50%.
second.
How did that work for you?
Wait a second, I have it worked very well for me,
Yeah.
Dave, thank you.
Okay, so we've got, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Hi.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, staff reports.
So do we want to take it if there is any questions?
If there's any questions or if either of the directors wants to, Megan, is there anything you want to highlight?
Not specifically, no.
Otherwise, questions?
So did we, sorry, am I interrupting? Oh. The historical signage project, are we on any of them? Any of the staff reports?
Yeah.
So did we pay money to Lake Ledge Naturals for the sign?
We walked away, she walked away,
And what was budgeted for that?
25,000.
So is the Historical Society, I mean, I assume it's mostly going, most of the money will go towards the production of the signs. Are we saving money on it?
I just received an email from John today saying that they would take it on, so we're just waiting for a formal recognition that they would take it on. And then we would enter into an agreement, a formal agreement to avoid any further discrepancies for the project.
Yeah.
And it could be determined as part of that, that they could expand their scope because their costs would be a little bit lower.
Right.
So they might be able to probably get more bang for our buck and get more out of the project than what we initially were putting for just that one or the 2 panels for the sign.
Gotcha. Well, unfortunate situation, but I'm sure the Historical Society will make it amazing.
It wasn't all right. So question on the water quality sign, are we gonna have somebody from the county come and talk to us about that, or
So I'm gonna be calling him prior to the board meeting, seeing if we can,
the
as
next board
discussed,
meeting? Okay,
as or at the next Parks committee meeting.
Parks meeting, okay.
So I'm gonna give him a call, say, we indicated that we do not want these costs, it was not disclosed. If we can't come to an agreement, I would recommend that we have him come and speak to the committee.
Why don't we,
He just indicated that he would.
okay.
But do we, if we don't need him, he doesn't have to, we are, didn't we just aren't, we aren't paying him.
I mean, yes, I mean, if we're fine with it, right now, they haven't shut the lights off. Literally.
I mean, if you're not paying for it, they're gonna turn them off.
But I mean, like, where that's located, let's,
I
there's
was
other
just
things we
saying-
can do that aren't gonna cost us $600 a year. Let's put a QR code. People are going there, they can scan it and get to it. Nobody can see it.
What I would say, I've gotten, if I forget until it comes up, at least 3 families have approached me and said, you can't even see that sign. You have to know where it is.
Yeah.
To go
Well,
look
I
at
think
it.
the
We
board,
went round and round and where
Board
that's
initially
gonna be
put
placed. This was 2 years ago, whenever.
There was a,
Should
yeah,
just be a wooden sign at the end, kind of like a baseball field where somebody changes the score and somebody
Okay.
goes down there and puts on the.
Mhm.
yeah, there was just a misunderstanding on how they communicated it. We were not expecting to have that be an ongoing cost.
I don't think it was a misunderstanding. They screwed up and didn't tell us there was a cost.
Yeah, it was supposed
That's
to
what
be.
happened.
Well, if we keep it, we should.
I think it is a good idea though, to have that sign. I know I'm a beach swimmer and I check all the time what the water quality is at different beaches.
Mhm.
We have so many people that go down to that beach.
I think there's just a better way.
I was just agreeing.
It's gonna cost
Be good if it was
$600.
visible.
Well, have
Well,
it
and
visible,
it
put
should be
a
visible.
QR code there so people can scan it. I mean, who's at the beach who doesn't have a smartphone? For $600 a year, I don't see it. But I understand what you're saying, Patrice.
Yeah, I'm not a QR person, but that's just
I'm
me.
not either, and my parents wouldn't pay, like, I think. I get what you're saying, but not everybody is techie.
Not everybody is.
Right, you have to have a very visible thing, like
And it should
red,
be at the.
a red
beach,
light
It should be,
or a
yeah,
red thing.
it should be
behind-
visible.
Yeah, or a red flag, something, so somebody.
And This,
people know.
this was like a county-wide program too, it's just not.
So yeah, we'll get that determined, and if there's any issue, then we'll go back to the parties.
Anything else for staff reports? Any other questions? Okay, on to committee reports. Any questions on that? We have Marina, Finance, Library, and Green Theater.
I have a question. I'm sorry, can we go back for a minute? The SBAA staff report is in here, but I don't see the community coordinator report. Is this the new community coordinator? I don't, Abby, are you on?
No, she left.
So
Is this the new, community coordinator report? I'm the one that requested, because we haven't seen it for 2 years. Is that what this is?
So when I asked with those exact words that
Yeah.
you gave, and
Yeah.
this is what they say is that.
Okay, so
Not
they could
necessary.
have, sure, they could have reformatted without a doubt.
Yeah.
I just, well, I wondered, so.
I guess I would like to see that go under committee reports then, because it's actually on there as.
Yeah, it should not be in this area, for
Yeah.
sure. It should be on a committee, or just be in with committee reports.
Yeah.
That's where I always use. Okay. Okay, thanks for doing that, by the way, thank you. And you guys should read through this, because it gives you a lot of good information, in particular about what's going on with our festivals and events, and it also gives you good information about, well, the website for sure, but, occupancy and room tax and things like that. It's a couple of months in arrears, but at least gives you directionally what's going on. This is March, and we just got May, and it's July, but it takes time to get it.
Any questions on the review reports in there? Gary, you were at the library committee?
I didn't go to the last meeting because our meeting overran. The library was at 1, and if you remember, we were.
Yeah. That was, but I mean, the June meeting, I think is what we've got in here for.
Yeah, I did go to the June meeting.
Okay. Do you see that SBAA library issue is resolved, or do you think that's gonna come back up?
SBAA
were-
doesn't think it's resolved.
What
Pardon
is
me?
the issue?
SBAA doesn't believe it's resolved.
Yeah, they're very adamant that they didn't want to pay any fees. The library.
Yeah.
It was pointed out to them that the fees do cover advertising, and everybody else that is part of the Marina Fest or whatever, pays.
The fire department does pay it too.
Yeah,
They're
so,
about for years, so.
They were not,
Is this specifically for Marina Fest? It's not for anything.
Yeah. they were concerned about paying whatever the fee was, their fee was for. Marina
If they're
Fest.
selling things, are they selling them?
Yes.
Yeah. The books.
Well aware, in the village hall, lots of books. Okay.
Their other complaint that took up a lot of the meeting was, they used to have a dumpster that they shared with the maintenance folks right next door. When the maintenance folks moved, there's no dumpster there.
Sure.
They're requesting a dumpster.
They weren't requesting it, but they were complaining that now they had to deal with it more on their own, rather than just taking it out, every day or whatever, throwing it in the dumpster. Now they gotta plan and wheel it out to the curb.
So it's just a regular garbage, same like we all use.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can they just set it up for pickup? Like where you don't. have to
That's what they were
realize
gonna
the
look
cart?
into.
Yeah, it's
just,
not that much more.
Because it would be free, because they're village. That's my understanding.
Why?
Well, it's not
It is free.
free.
It's free for the village. We don't get, we don't have it in our,
But if
I don't.
It's an included service.
And they include
Yeah.
service, but you don't pay. But they would not give an invoice for going.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll see that again eventually.
Can I ask a really random thing, and it was kind of mixed in notes, sorry.
Oh, sure.
I saw something, a blip on a radar somewhere about possibly a new dog park at Wiltsey. I saw another thing about commentary from a previous meeting about no place to dump leaves and garden refuse and, sticks and branches, whatever. And if we're building a new dog park, can we literally just let people bring their leaves and dump them in the old dog park?
You're not building a new dog park.
I thought that was a nice fence scenario.
There had been conversation
Two
about
birds, one
moving the
stone.
dog park out to Lagerquist. Which at this point we aren't gonna do. The reason that there was a conversation about moving the dog park was because we thought that might be where the reed bed would go. But the reed bed, and this is a conversation I had with Megan, the revamp would probably be better suited to go, where the, community gardens come.
Yeah, closer to where stuff's coming from.
Right, so we would not dog park. But we've had Dick Burris, at least about once a year comes and says, because, you know, Ephraim has, you can go and dump, you know,
Your
yard,
lips and
yard
stuff.
things, and,
Totally.
yeah, mostly it's, our family has a place in Ephraim, so I use it. And
It's
so.
not leaves, it's branches and
It's not
trees.
leaves, you don't put leaves there. You put branches, you put,
Well,
branches really.
That's something that we've got coming to the parks on
Yeah,
our agenda,
it's
it's
at
not
parks,
2
right.
pages long.
Yeah. The agenda's been long.
But I think one of the big things that was important on that site is understanding what the costs are, because it's going to incur some cost to have that, and it's knowing what those are upfront.
Mhm.
Then being able to make a choice.
Yeah, it'd be great, I mean, it's, because we did talk about talking to Ephraim and asking what the cost is. It's not just labor, but it's, you know, because we have,
It's policing it.
sorry,
It's policing it also.
yeah, and what do we do with it when we have it? You know, so,
They let the fire department do a control burn.
Well, they actually just grind it and let their village residents come and pick it up as
yeah,
well.
but you've ever been, yeah, well, it's over on Town Line. Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept committee reports.
Second.
Motion by Bell, second by Maxie, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, matters to be placed on a future agenda. Ben, where would the most appropriate place to talk about the vehicles in the future? Is that a CIP discussion? Is that a utilities and parks discussion? Where would that?
So in the past, we have had like a street replacement plan, and then we've also included as part of our CIP, vehicle replacement plan, or I guess vehicle replacement. I would say it might be good if we have this be either to parks and we actually develop a plan for what we'd be doing for replacement to include in the CIP, or we piggyback off of the CIP and just have a broader discussion there. But it depends whether or not we want to develop a specific plan for vehicle replacement about what we're replacing it with. The CIP doesn't go into level of detail about what we're replacing it with, just that we need to replace it.
Well, I mean, like generally there is a vehicle type that's listed in the CIP.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we're replacing like a specific vehicle, you know, for the year that we're replacing it.
Yeah.
Like a truck, you know, or what type of vehicle, yeah.
Well,
I would generally defer to the manager using the vehicle.
I would say that's gonna be a committee level decision.
But I would say if
The
we want to
request
develop,
comes to the committee level, but
if we want to develop a plan just with what it would be for the specific replacement schedule, similarly to what we do for streets, you know, it could be beneficial to have a document that is reviewed each year as part of it about what we're replacing for vehicles. And then that would be included as part of the CIP, similarly how it could be for streets as well, to maintain what we have for our assets.
Well, I think the first thing that we need to establish is what does it look like dollar wise? Because that's where I think it makes sense, and if it doesn't make sense dollar wise, then why talk about it? My preliminary research says it does make significant amount of sense on a number of these vehicles.
you mean to have them on a replacement cycle? Or-
No, I mean like to actually electrify them,
Oh,
because
you
you're
mean
gonna,
electric.
Oh.
because you're gonna save thousands a year in fuel and maintenance. For any vehicle you can't use everyone, but there are some. that could.
Some's absorbed in the electric cost to charge them there.
Sure, I mean, like, if you look at it, it's like something like $1,000 to $7,000 roughly what the.
Yeah.
difference is.
Well, and if you have your parks vehicles electric, you probably would need to install the electric charging stations in the parks building. And things
Sure.
like that, yeah, I think there definitely is a list of.
Yeah, there's some costs in there, but and again, it's gotta pencil out. But where does that happen? Is that a financing or is that a parks and utilities?
I would say ideally, the way that I would see it go is that we develop what the replacement plan would be for the vehicles and what we're replacing it with, and having that be in terms of the length of life, and then that document is from parks, it's interpreted as part of the CIP. And so I think you should start off in parks.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Someday we'll get you in.
Or technology committee can jump in there.
Anything else to get referred? Hey,
Sorry, only because we were just talking, and you don't have to, but to add on to parks, I'm so sorry. If you're just having a discussion about where you.
Discussions are done, just
well,
discussion.
you and ask it, it's not gonna go on the next meeting.
Okay.
Just in general,
2020.
if you're discussing where you could possibly put yard waste and what that looks like and all the
I'd
things.
love to talk.
Out in that area.
Yeah.
Can we also talk about adding some sort of long-term grass parking area that no fence, no monitoring, who cares, park at your own risk, but it's come up so many times in the
Long-term
past
what?
2 years.
Parking?
Long-term parking. Like say somebody comes to town and they're renting a rental house and they came with their RV, where are they gonna park it?
Yeah, there's no one.
There's nowhere, like, if this
Right.
isn't like a one-time thing, I get asked this question constantly, I cannot tell you guys how many people I've allowed to park at our farm, because there's nowhere else for them. to park
Yeah,
there.
there's no one.
I'm just saying, throw it in there. Chit chat. about
When-
it.
But is there a reason that we would have to do that?
I just think it's nice, it's a nice
I
thing
do
for the
too,
village
but
to offer.
I don't think it's
Like, we
something the
have a
village should do, but I
whole
think that if we're not having the discussion now, we're talking about referring it to a committee. Let's refer that to parks.
Then to put, anyway. Okay.
Yeah, let's look at it referred to parks.
If you wanna know which. So.
I know, don't publish my address or my
Okay.
phone.
Anything else?
Sounds like another business, Bridget.
No.
I don't wanna pay.
Okay, then we have the special board meeting on the fifth or seventh. What is availability with that? I think we had specific times on the fifth and the seventh.
You do?
Yeah, because there was getting this room.
Okay.
So, yeah, there is the knitters that is currently in the room in that,
They were
Yeah.
usually here on the fifth. Right?
I believe it was the fifth that they were here.
There, 1 p.m. on the 5th.
How long is this meeting gonna be?
so the fifth,
It was a Tuesday and a
It's a
Thursday.
Wednesday. It's a
Wednesday.
And a Friday. It's a Wednesday, Friday.
Friday has complete availability for the room.
Well, how long is the meeting gonna be? How long do we need it for?
I would think it's gonna be at least an hour. I wouldn't wanna rush Ramsey, but I also wouldn't think he's gonna be.
I didn't know what the topic was, that's what I was asking, okay. So if it's an hour long, could we do it Wednesday morning before the knitters, what time are the knitters here, 1?
1 o'clock.
Yeah, we'd need a start at 10.
Not 9? Okay.
So this is closed session for from the last, I'm sorry, that's the Sister Bay lawsuit. Sister Bay, private betting lawsuit.
Nate, I won't be able to make Wednesday or Friday, because that's when I work.
Okay, unfortunately, that was the day that Ramsey could make it up
Sure,
here.
no problem.
Okay.
So that was where we started, was when
Yeah.
we could get
It's
Ramsey.
okay.
up here.
So if we did Wednesday at 10, and even if it was 2 hours,
We
we
should
should
be
be
good.
out time for the knitters.
Can we? And I should say, Teresa, there was also a concern about scheduling. If we did it the next week, then there wasn't enough time.
It's okay, just wanted to let.
Well, I want to let you know, it wasn't just, okay, these are the
Yeah.
two dates. There was a decision matrix that came up with those two.
So 10 o'clock I can do.
10 o'clock on the fifth.
August fifth, and we're looking at 10 o'clock.
I know, yep.
Okay.
Was that consensus? Are we 10 a.m. on the 5th?
Yep. All right.
Primary is the 11th, right?
Yep.
June, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, then on to 10A. Ben, can we go into both of these at the same time, or do we have to go in and come out? Or A and B?
Clerk Institute just said best policy is to come in and out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we convene into executive session pursuant to Wisconsin 19851G confer with legal counsel for governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or likely to be involved. By Brockton, discussion? A motion by Bell, second by Kelly, roll call vote,
Hardler, yes.
Campo, yes.
Maxi, yes.
Bell, yes,
Nelson, yes.
Right, yes.
Kelly, yes.
by Kelly. Roll call vote,
Kelly, I.
White, yes.
Housen, yes.
Bell, yes,
Maxi, yes.
Campo, yes.
Hardler, yes.
okay.